Hello everybody, Intuition here. Thank you as always for making time and space for us. We received a question recently after one of our videos that asked, who controls the weather? And it is not a simple question that will then therefore derive a simple answer. There are things that are important to understand before we answer that question, so that the answer that we give makes sense to you. And so, first, before we tell you who is controlling the weather, it is important to understand why people would want to control the weather, as well as natural disasters, and what the draw to doing something like that would be. And so, why you would want to control the weather, why you would want to evoke a natural disaster, is simply because, again, based off the precipice of people who move to different places and states because of the resonance that that state geographically has. Because that resonance that that area has aligns with their identification and understanding of self. And then therefore, they want to move to that place because that is most representative of their energetic pattern, or because that is the energetic pattern that they want to step more into to help better realize and understand themselves in a more complete and whole way. And so if enough people get to a certain place and state, what that starts to do is that creates a certain energetic pattern that then therefore creates a certain waveform that allows for, again, certain things to be attracted to it. And so that sometimes occurs as natural disasters, that occurs as weather patterns. However, why you'd want to control the weather, why you'd want to control a natural disaster, is to disrupt that energetic waveform that is starting to occur. Because if I'm able to disrupt that and move different energies through that waveform, then I'm able to make you pivot in what it is that you are starting to focus on and what it is that you are starting to uncover and move into for yourself. Because now you have to focus on this natural disaster. And because you have to focus on this natural disaster, now you have to focus on our energy again. Our energy that you weren't focusing on before, because you were so focused on your energy, on your evolutionary tract. And that was detracting from our agenda, the individuals that are controlling the weather, the individuals that are controlling the natural disasters. Your concentration on self was detracting from your concentration on furthering the agenda in which we have for our evolutionary growth. And we need you to be a part of that in order for us to evolve in the way that we believe is most fitting for our evolutionary growth. And so why individuals would control the weather is because it makes individuals in that certain state and area pivot. It makes certain energies be infused into it that weren't there before, that then therefore shift and disperse certain energy patterns that we're starting to weave together that disrupt the energies that you should be focusing on, that would help the agenda of the others, so to speak, that are controlling the weather and controlling the natural disasters by mimicking certain waveforms that the collective unconscious usually emanate and send out that cause those things to come to them in the first place. And so it is important to understand why you would send a natural disaster towards people, or why you would evoke certain weather patterns to form. Because what it is it's serving an agenda, and again, that agenda is to force people to pivot in such a way that they are not able to focus on what it is that they were focusing on a moment before, because now I have to focus on rebuilding my house. Now I have to focus on working hard to ensure that I'm able to build back what it is that I had, so that I could get to some sense of normalcy, and then maybe I could start addressing what it was that I was starting to address a minute before this cataclysm came. And so who controls the weather is a group of individuals that are trying to move along a certain agenda that they believe is most beneficial for them, but also the rest of us in our evolutionary growth process and track. And these people, these individuals, are not individuals that you have necessarily been introduced to. We could not sit and say that it is the president. We cannot sit and say that it is the government, local and state. We cannot say that it is the Pope. We cannot say that it is any of those people, because it is all of those people and none of those people, because those people have bought in to the agenda. However, just because you bought into the agenda does not mean that you started the agenda. Doesn't mean that you are in control of the agenda. It just means that you, because you bought in, are now given orders because of your buy-in that you now must execute for the agenda to continue to unfold. So these individuals, the government, the people that you see in positions of power really are not in positions of power. I know on some level that we all know this to some degree. But these people that are put in positions of power are put in these positions of power because they are easily malleable and they are easy to be bought. And so then therefore they are bought into the agenda, and then therefore are actors in the execution of the agenda and are really just figureheads. They're really just placeholders for the real individuals behind the scenes that are causing these orders to be carried out to begin with. And so that is a group of people that have bought into a very specific idea. And that specific idea is, through the means and control mechanism of money, we will evolve to a certain point and place that will allow for the continuum of growth and understanding for both ourselves on an evolutionary spiritual point and a continuum as a human, on a human level, on a human evolutionary track. Because the human evolutionary track is different than the spiritual evolutionary track. And so we cannot sit and say that it is Joe down the street that controls the weather. It is a group of individuals that you are not very familiar with that are in control of those things, and they're in control of those things to push the underlying agenda that through this certain evolutionary process, through the means of control of money, and everybody toiling away their time in the pursuit of money, that then therefore detracts from them using their time in a way to understand themselves in potentially a better way than the pursuit of money. And you going down that track, there is the belief that they believe that we will end up in a different place that will be more beneficial than if you spent that time understanding yourself through a different lens. And so who controls the money? You could sit and say it is the people that have accumulated the most wealth, but it is more the idea that it is the individuals that created the idea of wealth to begin with. It is not the corporations that run the world. It is the individual that came up with the idea of corporations itself in order to make people cooperate with the illusion of money. So it is not an easy answer of who controls the weather and truly who controls much of the current events that we see take place in our day-to-day lives. It is a group of individuals that have been called by many names, the shadow government or what else have you. However, it is the same people that have been pushing the illusion of money and being a good, productive member of society. They are the same individuals that have been around for hundreds of thousands of years. And so they just have better tricks up their sleeve, like understanding energy so that they control the weather, buying people so that they can have certain events take place and deter you from what it is that is really the underlying agenda. Again, like a magician. In order for my trick to work, you need to be distracted and look over here while I'm pulling the rabbit really out of my shoe, but it makes it look like I pulled the rabbit out of thin air. So it is the same. As always, just a little food for thought, and this is how we understand things to be. Totally okay if you do not agree with it. That is your power. And so, as always, we are full of gratitude for you making time and place and space for us, and we wish you well. And understanding more of yourself and what trajectory that is going to look like. Well wishes.